Hello, and welcome to Candidates Up Front. This is a public interest election program of Berks Community Television and the League of Women Voters of Berks County. Our May 16th primary election is coming up. Democrats and Republicans will vote for judges, school directors, and county, township, borough, and city officials. The deadline to register to vote is May 1st. To check your voting status, go to votepa.gov. That's vote.pa.gov. You can register, change your party, locate your polling place, or apply for an absentee or mail-in ballot. The deadline to register is May 1st. The deadline to apply for a mail-in ballot is May 9th. The League is interviewing those candidates who wanted to be interviewed in contested races. For each race, the candidates will get the same basic questions and the same amount of time to answer them.
Hello, I'm Kay Herring, a member of the League of Women Voters of Berks County. 5 candidates are competing for a chance to be magisterial district judge in Berks County 23302. That includes the townships of Earl, Douglas, Colebrookdale, Washington, and Hereford townships, and the boroughs of Boyertown, Bechtelsville, and Bally. 4 candidates are cross-filed, which means they are on the ballot for both the Democrat and Republican Party. They are Rick Drumheller, Charlie Madonna, Andrew Mathias, and Robert Hawes. David Schott will only be on the Republican ballot. Voters in each party will select one to be on the fall ballot. The magisterial district judge handles traffic violations, landlord-tenant matters, and civil actions where the amount claimed is less than $12,000. The judge presides at arraignments, sets bail, issues warrants, and performs duties of a similar nature. The term is 6 years, and the salary in 2023 is $106,245. Please note that the opinions expressed in this interview are those of the candidate and not the opinions of the League of Women Voters or Berks Community Television. This interview is with Andrew Mathias. Welcome today, Andrew. And if we could open by, if you would just tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and why are you running?
Thank you, Kay. Yes, my name is Andrew Mathias, and I retired recently from law enforcement after 25 years of service. I found out that our local judge in Boyertown was retiring, so I decided to look up the requirements, qualifications of the magisterial district judge, and I decided to run for this position to continue to serve and protect the community and also to give back to the Boyertown area through community service as well.
Great. And can you expand a little bit more about what your education has been and the other background that you bring to the position?
Yes. So early in my life, I decided to join the Cub Scouts, which then went into the Boy Scouts, and I was able to achieve the highest rank in Boy Scouts, which is the Eagle Scout. Through the time as a Boy Scout, I did various community service activities. And at this point, I felt that I would start a career in police. So I went on for a 2-year degree for criminal justice. I put myself through this education. From there, I went to the Reading Police Academy and obtained my certificate. It's called the Act 120. Once completed that, I applied and started security just to gain some basic experience. Started applying to police departments, and ultimately I was able to get a job with Douglas Township Police Department in Montgomery County, and I was able to become a field training officer there. I had the ability to train the officers coming in for about 20 years. Also, I was a community relations officer within the department, so I was able to help to make sure that the kids are safe through, it's called a certification for seatbelt technician, so I was able to make sure that the kids were safe in the car seats. I was also the less lethal instructor, which was certification for OC spray and also baton for other options of force within the police department. And also, I felt the need to plan ahead to become judge. I actually took the certification. So to my understanding, I'm the only one at this point judicially certified to become judge. And that was a month-long class in Harrisburg that I went. And I have a really good balance with my support system, my wife, my family. They gave me the time away from the home to take this class. And I actually successfully passed the class. So I'm actually ready to serve as the judge within this area of Boyertown. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. You've talked about your education and your work history. What personal qualities do you have that you feel would be a help to be an effective district judge?
Good question. Yes, within my experiences as a police officer, I had the opportunity to see thousands of situations, cases where I had the opportunity to both interview, whether they were victims of a crime or the suspects of a crime. So I have a very good ability to listen and to take notes, take reports, and follow through my investigations. And from that point, we would decide whether I was able to, whether it was a citation or arrest somebody for the crime at hand. And we had some help with the district attorney's office in Montgomery County, but ultimately we would run the case from the beginning of the case to the end of the case. So I have a lot of experience within the court system with all types of criminal matters.
Okay. And if you could tell us maybe a little bit more about we listed the townships and the boroughs that this area covers, but if you could tell us a little bit more about that area, maybe geographically and the people and the makeup that you'll be serving in this district.
Yes, it's encompasses, again, all the areas that you stated earlier. For the most part, it's the Boyertown School District, and then it reaches out a little north outside, which is in the Hereford Township. But we have a couple boroughs, you had stated, so we have congestion with traffic, and then we also have a lot of farmland. We have, it's a very diverse culture in the area, and it's good to be able to sit back and see all the types of families that are coming in. The Boyertown area is ever growing with all the businesses. So it's, again, it's just a growing area, and I feel that I would be well served in that position.
Okay. And are you involved in volunteer or community work? And if you are, if you could tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I am. Through the years, again, starting with Boy Scouts, we did community service. And then as I went through the places, being a police officer 25 years, I had the ability to help out in various ways. Some of them are through Preston's Pantry. I also help out at the United Way. I'm actually a board member on the United Way of Boyertown. And also I help out at the Salvation Army regarding meals for the families within Berks County. And also they do backpack drives. So I be able to help out with the backpacks for the families that are in need as well for school.
Okay, thank you. Now, as a district judge, you deal with matters of both civil law and criminal law. So if you could please explain that and possibly give some examples of each for the viewers and even myself, that we don't deal with this every day. So if you can give us a good idea of the difference between civil and criminal.
Yes, civil law is dealing with whether it's landlord-tenant issues and anything dealing with whether it's a contract, whether it's verbal or written. It's something that doesn't impose a criminal penalty, but it's based on what two people agree upon. You have to have someone that poses, whether they say if you come mow my grass, I'll give you $20. That's a verbal agreement, and if this other person says, yes, I'll do it, and then if that doesn't happen, then that could be a civil claim in a local court. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have the criminal law, which there's statutes, and there's numerous statutes out there. For example, you have the vehicle code, which could be anywhere from a stop sign to a red light to speeding. And then also you would have the criminal side of it. You would have domestic violence to a DUI arrest to any type of forcible felony, which could be murder or robbery. So there's various types of crimes that could be within this area.
Okay. So if you could please explain what the district judge's role is in handling criminal issues.
Yes, at the local court, the criminal process is quite extensive. So what you would do is, if it would be an in custody arrest, the defendant would come before you and you would arraign them. And there's multiple questions you would ask them through the arraignment process to see if they would go home for the night or if they would have to remain incarcerated. And part of that is bail. You'd have to set bail accordingly. On the other end, if you would charge someone, a police officer could charge you and it would go up by summons, which means it would go up by mail. And these are usually the less serious offenses. So it would go up by summons, and then you'd come into court as well. The person would also be arraigned immediately. And then you'd have a hearing, and that's called a prima facie case, which is on the face of. So basically, you need 100% or almost 100% to find someone guilty in the Commonwealth of PA. This would be 51% of the evidence, which is just a slight tipping of the scales, they call it as well, to be able to bind it over for court. So this would not be 100% guilty at the court for criminal. It would only be enough evidence to say that a crime was committed and we feel that the defendant committed the crime, and then you'd bind it over or hold it over to the Court of Common Pleas. In this case would be Berks County Courthouse.
Okay. And then in the same way, what would the district judge's role be in handling the civil issues that would come in front of you in your office?
Yes. The civil process is a little bit different. The district justice would have to first make sure that the contract, whether it's verbal or written, was filed in a timely fashion. There's statutes for years in place depending on the circumstances. So once the magisterial district judge believes that it's within the time frame and within his or her jurisdiction, it has to occur within the jurisdiction for, say, myself to hear the case. Once that's established, then the judge would have to listen to the plaintiff, would get a copy of the contract to examine, and then whatever is within the contract is what actually was agreed upon. If there's no contract, then the district justice would have to determine what type of verbal contract there was, if there was any, and then did the defendant agree to those terms. And then before the hearing's over, the defendant would be able to cross-examine any witnesses the plaintiff would put on, and ultimately the decision would be rendered. And again, there's time periods on this. It could be done immediately or it could be done with a short time period. And again, this would be, it's called the preponderance of the evidence. So again, it would be just over the 51% in order to find the person liable for the damages.
Okay. And a district judge decides whether there is sufficient evidence for a criminal case to go to a trial. What will you consider when you make a decision in this area, if there's sufficient evidence?
Yes. So if a case comes before me, you would have to listen to, it's the prosecution, which is usually the police officer, that would give out all the elements of a crime. There's certain elements that the police officer has to prove before the case can be established, again, to be held over or binded over for the Court of Common Pleas. So I would listen to all the evidence. The evidence would have to be entered properly, and then whatever witnesses would testify, then the defense could cross-examine those witnesses. And then once the defense cross-examines the witnesses, the defense could put on their own case at the local level. And as long as I feel that all the evidence produced was enough, which would be the just enough to show that it was over 51% of the evidence, then I would bind the case over. If there's one of the, say there were 5 charges charged, and if one charge there wasn't enough elements, I could dismiss that one charge, but still bind over the other 4 charges. So it doesn't mean it's all or nothing at the local level. It means that whatever was established would be sent up to county court.
Okay, thank you. District judges also set bail. Maybe we could talk about that a little bit. What criteria will you use to decide whether bail is needed? And then what criteria will you use to determine how high the bail should be?
Yes, bail is set for 2 reasons. Number 1, to make sure that the defendant appears for all future hearings, and also that they make sure that they follow any guidelines that I might put in place. For example, if I say no contact with the victim, and if the defendant contacts the victim in any manner, that could be a violation of the bail. Another reason then, the second reason for bail would be to make sure that the community is safe. So they give us guidelines that you can follow for setting bail. It's based on the type of crime and the severity of the crime. And then it would be ultimately the judge's decision or my decision to figure out how much bail, whether it's cash bail or if you would sign on your own signature, would be, it's called release on your own recognizance. So you would just set bail monetarily, but then if they fail to show up for the next hearing, you could actually require them to post the bail if they violate a condition.
Okay. And are there community problems the district judge can help to alleviate?
Yes. So in the local area, we do have a problem with addiction. It's either alcohol and or drugs. And I feel that as a judge, you could, instead of just sending every case up to county court and just basically forgetting about what happened, I would pose some conditions to see if they would be willing to go to an alcohol treatment plan or a drug treatment plan, or maybe some other types of counseling that would help them out. And this would have to be, again, handled, and they'd have to show proof of this. That at that point I would have a little bit of grace that as long as the prosecution, the police officer, and any victim, if there was a victim involved, that they would agree to this. And then this could be disposed of at my court instead of going to the county court, and then it would give the chance for this person to move on with their life instead of getting a criminal record.
Okay, thank you. As a member of the judiciary, what can you do both on and off the bench to ensure that all Pennsylvanians have access to the courts?
Yes, I would first make sure that my court would be, it would comply with the American Disabilities Act to make sure that there's proper ramps for all persons to get into the court. Furthermore, my court is open, it's open set hours, and if I don't have a hearing scheduled for a specific day or time, I could be called in by the court staff and say, there's this person here that wants to turn themselves in, or they want to pay a fine and they need my services. I could come in and I can handle that. In addition to that, I know Berks County does have after hours. There's an on-call judge, to my understanding 24/7, and that judge on call would be able to handle the situation based on where they're located. So based on my understanding, there's always a location that someone can come in and see a judge within Berks County.
Okay. And of course, you know, one of the goals of the League of Women Voters is to encourage people to vote, to get them registered, but also to educate all voters about the positions. And let's just talk about what you feel is most important about this district judge position and why it should matter that the voters will come out to vote on this position.
Yes, the magisterial judge position is the first level if you're ever charged with a crime or if you have a civil matter, like Kay said, under $12,000, I would be the person you would see first. So the public should make an informed decision who they want to put in this office, as it is a 6-year term office. And the majority of the cases at this level will be disposed of, and it won't even go up to the next level, which is county court. And also anything that happens at this court can be appealed and go up to the next level as well. So this level determines a very high ethical stance and to be fair and impartial for, and that I'm going to be the first face that you would see, so you should be able to pick the right person for this position. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Andrew Mathias has joined us here today, and thank you for sharing your views with us. Viewers, please remember there are many candidates for magisterial district judge running in 230302 district on the Democrat and the Republican ballots. They include Rick Drumheller, Charlie Madonna, Andrew Mathias, who you just heard from, Robert Hawes, and David Schott. You vote for one. Thank you for watching Candidates Upfront.
You will find the Candidates Upfront interviews on BCTV and on its website and its YouTube page. And for more information on candidates, you can go to the League's online voters guide, vote411.org. Or you can contact Berks County Election Services, elections@countyofberks.com. Their phone number is 610-478-6490. And thank you for watching Candidates Upfront.